Welcome back to the Stitch Sessions, and welcome to another segment of Crochet Quick Chat. And this little segment is where I sometimes answer the most common crochet questions, especially for you newer crocheters out there. And this one goes back to getting a hold of your basics, and I mean basics. So I'm going to talk today about how to hold your hook and how to hold your yarn. So this is a very common question because well, there's a few factors. Some people are right-handed, some people are left-handed, and there are two main ways to hold your hook. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a close-up of my hands now so that we can go over the different ways that you can hold your hook and hold your yarn. So really it's important when you're a new crafter, a new crocheter, that you find the groove or the way to maneuver with your hook and your yarn that makes sense and feels comfortable to you. Because once you hit that comfort level, then you can really focus on creating your art. So let's have a closer look. So whether you are right-handed or you are left-handed, there are two basic ways to hold your crochet hook. So there is what we call the knife position, where you're holding with all of your fingers over and your thumb this way, and it's the same whether you're right-handed or you're left-handed. Now I myself am right-handed, so I would be holding it this way. The other way is the pencil position, which is this way. So if you're left-handed, I think it would be like this. I believe some people also call this the continental way of holding it. I think in knitting, there's also similar references. So that's the main thing. The first thing you need to do if you're a brand new crocheter is find the hold that feels most comfortable to you. Now, if you're used to writing, you may think, well, this probably feels the most comfortable to me. But then we have another factor we're going to introduce here, and that is, you guessed it, the yarn. Okay? So I'm going to just use a little bit of some of my scraps here. So your yarn. How do you hold your yarn? These things are really particular and personal to the person. It all depends on your dexterity, how tense or lax you tend to hold things in your hand, or how tense or lax your fingers actually are, okay? So with the yarn, some people just like holding it like this and letting the long side, your long side should always be behind, and they're happy working it this way, right? So they can just continue working it along this way. I find that sometimes having this be really loosey-goosey is distracting for me, and I find that I can't quite gauge my tension well. So I'm just going to actually create a little slip knot here just to have it as if I'm starting a project. Okay, so for me, I tend to hold my hook most of the time in the pencil position. The odd time, I'm sorry, that's the knife position, okay? I'm not sure if there actually is a better terminology for that, but this is what I've heard most people call it, is the knife position. Sometimes if I'm a little tired, I will then turn and hold it this way just to kind of give my hands a break. So if I'm holding my hook this way, and so let's actually place the loop on the hook. So you've got your hook and you've got your yarn. Okay, so now to start working with these two together, see, the best thing to do is always to make sure that your yarn is kind of just a little bit taut there. Okay, and so some people like to trap it, so to speak, between their index finger and their middle finger as they work. See? And then you can kind of control the flow and the tension as it goes through. And then usually we just kind of ignore that tail, or we usually have it in the front. Now, when I'm starting a project, and this is where I find beginners have the trickiest time, is right about here, because nothing's really kind of taken shape yet. You've got this short tail, you've got your working tail, and it's like, all over the place. So the first thing I would recommend is making sure just to place your hand in like that. Have your short tail always in front, okay? And then what I like to do is I like to trap the long yarn between my pointer finger and my middle finger, okay? So that way I can kind of gauge it as it's coming out. So what that does is it allows me to kind of control this tail here for now, create a little bit of tension so that I can work, okay? So then I might use my thumb and maybe my ring finger just to kind of help me start stitching. But as you can see, this is really getting away from me. And for me, this feels really too far away. However, I have seen many crocheters that actually prefer, they find their comfort to hold everything really far away and work this way, like that. So I'm just doing some chains, but as you can see, I'm struggling because for me, that's not comfortable for me. And you know, I'm still creating the stitches, but I just didn't feel secure. So what I like to do, which I see a lot of crocheters do as well, is they use their pinky and they just wrap it once and then trap it between these fingers. So see what I did there? So now it gives me a little bit more control over the gauge and the tension coming through. And then I can use my middle finger to really hold. See, I like to hold a little closer to the slip knot at the beginning. So if I'm doing a project where you need to start doing a chain row, and then I can slowly move up. Like once I've started creating, see, now I can hold my work a little bit closer, okay? So this now gives me, for me, I feel like I have a bit more control. So I'm going to do that again. So I'm going to take my pinky and I'm just going to wrap once, and then I'm going to trap it between my pointer finger and my middle finger, just like that. So this is what it's going to look like. And you know, I'm not doing it tightly, but now it's got something more to work through. So it's not only got these two fingers, but these two fingers here. And it just for me, I find that it works in conjunction where I can control the tension a little bit better. This I see a lot. Okay. So the other one that sometimes I see, and I'm going to try my best to imitate it. The other way I see some people do it is they're still trapping it between their finger and their middle finger, but they're just kind of letting it hang here, and then they're using their ring finger and their thumb to hold the project, and then they like to kind of hold it a little bit out here. And for some crocheters, why they do that is it gives them a little bit of an easier visual to do that yarn over effect. And for many crocheters, they like it because it gives them a chance to really see their work. Okay. So for me personally, I like to loop around the pinky and through the fingers and really hold my work very close against the forefinger there. And that way I feel that I can really control the tension. Okay, so that way my thumb just moves up the chain along with the project. You'll also notice too that for me in particular, I hold my hook relatively in the center close to the actual hook portion. Okay, so if you've used any of these aluminum hooks, usually there's a little flat part here. That's generally meant to kind of help you rest your thumb. Some people will come up here, and that's again a total personal preference. So this is how I like to hold my hook. There are those that hold it in the knife position that actually prefer to hold it out here and kind of just again have a little bit of distance from their work. But of course, as you can see, I'm struggling because I don't have the coordination or the dexterity to hold the tension properly from out here. So for me, I like holding mine closer to my project and closer to the end of my hook. Okay. Oops, see, I made a boo-boo there because I'm not comfortable holding it that way. And I can't emphasize enough that there really is no right or wrong way. It's whatever way makes you feel like the project is securely in your hands. Because unless it feels secure to you, it's not going to work. Like, you're going to have different tension, different gauge, you're going to get uneven stitches, and you're just going to be really, really frustrated. So I always recommend to all beginner crocheters, take your time with the hook in your hand and the yarn in the other hand. And that's why a lot of times I just give chain stitch it projects as something to do to practice. And just chain away, chain, 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 just so that once you start seeing that your chain becomes consistent, like it doesn't get knotted or too loose or too tight, then you can truly see that you're starting to find your comfort or your groove. So if you hold your hook in the pencil position, for me, and funny enough, I grew up watching my grandmother crochet, although she's not the one that taught me, but this is how she would hold her hook. So this was always my first exposure to crochet. But when I actually started learning, I automatically fell into holding it in the knife position. And that's where my general comfort is. But many people hold it like this, and same thing. So you hold your yarn however it feels to keep it nice and taut. See, it's really important, just on the yarn topic again, that your working yarn has some tension to it. If you are just holding here and not doing anything at all with that, see, it's very floppy. Wow, I'm really having a hard time. It's very floppy. It's hard to see. It's just almost impossible to work with. And then you've got no tone, no gauge there. So you do want to find a way to create some tension for the working yarn, which is the long bit down the back, so that you can also hold on to the project itself as you're creating it. Now, once you form the project, like once you go past a chain, let's say you're making a scarf and then you go back and forth, you start creating an actual shape and more sustenance, you'll have something more to hang on to. It does get easier. The trickiest part is always starting from that slip knot and getting your work to sit properly in your hands, okay? So if you're holding in the pencil position, basically other than this, usually your middle finger is just resting up top here, just on the top side of the hook, and your thumb and your index finger tend to pinch just maybe where this part is here, or just a little bit lower. Now this is what I would recommend for someone like me who likes to stay closer to the work. Some of you use those clover hooks, or any of them, the ones that have the pads on them. So you would just kind of find a different spot to settle in. But if I was doing this in the pencil position, the same thing would apply. So that way I can yarn over and pull through. Okay, so for me, I like to see my thumb just keeps working up towards the project. And I sometimes kind of like to have the two hands close together just so that I feel that they truly are working together. Okay, now in the pencil position, there are those that actually prefer to be out here. And again, if this is you, this is what you want to stick to. This is your groove, right? So I can't emphasize this enough. Find your way. Your way is going to be the best way to create projects that are going to sit nice and even and be of even gauge and good quality. Okay. So if you're out here, you would be doing something like this. Now, of course, as I've said before, this is not my comfort level, so I am going to be a little bit more awkward doing it, but it's still, it's doable. And it's absolutely doable because I've seen many crocheters do it in this fashion. Okay, whoops, just like that. Okay, so whether you hold it out here or in here, you do you. And it also comes down to your preference of hook too. Like as you get more experienced, I've always learned using these flat hooks. I originally started with the metal hooks, and then I went to the plastic hooks, and now I really love these aluminum hooks. I'm super happy with them. I like how they sit in my hands. Some people really like the ones with the grips. Whatever works for your comfort, okay? So you have back here or down here. You have the knife back here or down here as well. So those are the main ways to hold it. And of course, if you're left-handed, you would be in either pencil position, closer to your work, or away from your work. If you're in knife position, you might want to be a little closer to your work or a little bit further away because you like it to be more relaxed. Okay, so those are the 4 main ways that I have seen people holding their hooks. And if there's a 5th way, by all means, do let me know. Leave me a comment down below. But I'm really hoping that this will kind of alleviate some stress for you newer crafters, because I know sometimes if you're watching YouTube channels and you see people doing things a certain way that you think, oh man, how come that's not feeling good to me? And 2 reasons it's not feeling good to you. Number 1, because it is brand new and you've never kind of held an instrument in your hand like that before. And 2, it might not be feeling good to you because maybe that particular hold is not a good hold for you. So don't get down on yourself. Just always look for a different option, okay? Just like with holding your yarn, okay? So some people like holding it just like that. Some people have it just between the pinky, actually, right? Some people have it just between there. Some people wrap this way. I remember the first few times I saw, because I always only used to hold it this way, and then I would use these other fingers to kind of hold the yarn tight to help with my tension. But what I found is that my fingers started cramping like crazy. So the first time I saw somebody do this and loop through, I thought, oh my gosh, that looks so complicated. But later on, I started doing it, and I find this is the most comfortable way for me to hold my yarn. Okay, so that's what it looks like in my palm, and that's what it looks like out here. Okay, and those are the most common ways that you can hold your hook and your yarn. And there you have it, guys. So I hope you found that useful and that it was really helpful for you really new crocheters in finding the way that works for you and getting you into your own groove and your own system of comfort so that you can really start to enjoy the craft of crochet and really dive in to creating your own works of art. So if you have any questions, remember, leave me a comment in the comment box down below, or you can always email me directly at info@crochetcrafty.com. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed already and you really like our tutorials or some of our Crochet Quick Chats, make sure you do so you never miss when we upload. So we upload a new tutorial every Wednesday morning. If you have a friend that you think might find these useful, please do share it. I really do enjoy sharing my love of crochet and crafting with you all, and I love bringing you along on my journey. So as always, have a wonderful day, happy crocheting, and take care.